Hello everyone and welcome back to Love Online. I am Dr. Carla Dunbar. By the way, please like and share this video and also subscribe. I call this marriage evangelism, and this is how you can help me to save marriages globally. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that has been floating around a lot, and the term is popularly used and I believe sometimes without understanding. I'm going to be dealing with narcissism in marriages. I believe I'm stating the obvious here because truly no one really needs to maintain a relationship with a narcissistic spouse. But my reason for the topic is that many do stay in the relationship and they are left with no direction when experts respond with a leave them or else proclamation. And because I sustain marriages, that's my calling, I think I need to speak with it. So as a Christian therapist, I know better than that. And I know that many spouses stay, and there is information that we can give you to make life easy. And also it has been proven in my practice that narcissism can be reversed. Nothing and no one is beyond God's ability to change. Now, narcissism in its simplest form is extreme self-love. Right? It's extreme self-love. And when you do psychoanalysis, it can reveal that historically it is a learned behavior and it is inculcated over time by the person as early as childhood, when one either suffered from neglect or suffers from love deprivation in the earliest stages in life. So it's just more than just being selfish. It's loving one's self to the detriment of anyone else's feeling. So we have to treat with it. Now, dealing with a narcissist in a marriage or relationship, it involves setting firm boundaries. It involves managing your expectations and prioritizing self-care, and then learning how to communicate assertively without emotional drama. But the best long-term strategy, especially if abuse is present, often involves creating distance or leaving the relationship entirely for both your mental and physical well-being. Now, you focus on self-preservation because you have to, and then you understand that the person may not necessarily change, and so you build a strong support system outside of that marriage or relationship. Now let's talk about some strategies to managing the relationship itself if one decides to stay in the relationship. Set and enforce boundaries clearly and critically. Clearly define what is it that you won't tolerate in the relationship. Example, name calling, gaslighting, labeling, and what the consequences are if it is that your spouse breaks that boundary. And you can say to them, well, if you yell at me or if you accuse me incorrectly without finding the facts out, then I am going to have to leave the room, not necessarily the relationship. Then stop explaining or defending, because you don't want to get drawn into circular arguments or try to get validation, because that gives a narcissist power and it wastes your energy. It actually saps your energy. Thirdly, manage expectations. You have to accept that the narcissistic spouse is unlikely to apologize for anything or even try to change. So don't expect them to understand your feelings. That is only going to frustrate you. You should communicate clearly and also calmly. You have to state your needs and your boundaries factually and do so consistently without emotional outbursts or acting like a victim. Then you shouldn't personalize. Don't personalize. Recognize their criticisms and their efforts at manipulations, that it's about them and not about you. It's not a reflection of your worth or your value. And choose your battles. Just try to avoid unnecessary conflicts to conserve your own energy. And if you need to, create distance. You have to establish emotional or even physical space when it is necessary. You can be empathetic without being enabling in your relationship. There's a method that is often used by therapists. It's called the gray rock method. Now, what is the gray rock method? Gray rocking is the art of not reacting to provocative behavior or words. It's not about containing your anger, because most narcissists can smell a simmering rage a mile away, and that will only increase their provocation if you react, and they will do it until you react as well. So what it is about, it's about a non-response, because you recognize that it has nothing to do with you personally, and you observe it as if you're watching a television show. You don't assume that you can impact the script of a TV show, no matter how much you talk to the TV, which I see a lot of persons do all the time. No matter how you speak into the series, you cannot alter it. So you treat the relationship, you treat your response just like that. And you understand that if the actors in the show would behave the same way, whether or not you are watching, whether or not you are quarreling, and they are following a script, so you do the same thing. When activated, many narcissists respond in a very predictable manner. They respond in predictable ways that reflect their past, their trauma, their challenges. And so you have to do what you know to do. It's not reflecting who you are as a person. So your job in that situation is not to respond or to go about doing what you are doing as if, they just make a comment or on the weather. If your narcissist spouse asks you, you can let them know you heard what they said, but don't go past a one word or a few words as a possible response. So because gray rocking frees the loved one from the call or fix cycle, so they are no longer responsible for another person's feelings or reactions. And because narcissists crave attention, and they focus as if it is the ear that sustains them, you have to know how to manage yourself. So if the provocative behavior causes or it ceases to achieve the listener's focus, then the narcissist is forced now to choose between maintaining the behavior or getting their attention or their needs met elsewhere. And so by repeated experience or exposure to this, the narcissist is now given an opportunity to behave differently and to also explore if they can get attention in a more pro-social kind of a way. So it really helps. Now, what's the point? The point is simply this. The listener lets go of the responsibility for controlling the narcissist's husband or wife. That's what happens. And so you can be less drained and carry less resentment, because oftentimes narcissists do not attempt a more pro-social interaction style unless they see it as to their benefit. Remember, it's really all about them. So gray rocking inspires the narcissist now to try something different in order to maintain attention. You also need to understand that you have to protect yourself. It is important. It's not vain and it is not selfish. So prioritize self-care and focus on your well-being through therapy, through hobbies, and through self-love and self-kindness. It is so important. Build a support system. Confide in a trusted friend, a family, or a therapist who understands NPD. You understand? So seek that kind of therapy, because a professional can help you to cope with the trauma and learn healthier coping methodologies if you live with a narcissistic spouse. You have to educate yourself, and this is what this video is about. You have to learn about NPD to better recognize manipulation tactics like gaslighting or love bombing. It's how you protect yourself, and it will also help the narcissistic spouse. Now, if you choose to leave, when you leave, if you are being abused, that's when you should choose to leave. If you face verbal, emotional, or physical abuse, or you even feel threatened, Yeah, prioritizing your safety by leaving is crucial. Also, if you feel isolated and controlled in the relationship, you have to understand a healthy relationship should not leave you feeling trapped or isolated. So if nothing changes, if your efforts to set boundaries are ignored and your mental health suffers, then leaving may very well be the only way to reclaim your life as it is. But not before trying therapy first. Now, try accepting. That's another way. You can try to accept because it really alleviates your stress level. Because when you have unrealistic expectation, it really only frustrates you. So you can try accepting that your spouse is a narcissist. If you have decided that you want to maintain your marriage with the narcissistic husband or wife, you must let go of the expectation of the narcissist to be different. They are who they are. The exhaustion many loved ones feel with a narcissist in the relationship is due to the effort that they put into trying to get the person to see their point, to acknowledge the error of their ways, and to change. Just stop. Stop. Because most of us know that a narcissist can move mountains when they are motivated. Let them find their motivation. I know significant others that you really want narcissists to change. You so desperately want them to change in the hopes that they can have a loving relationship and you can have a loving relationship that you see in other person's lives. But you have to understand that you can't spend hours trying to craft the perfect response that will allow for the narcissist to see the light. That's not your responsibility. That's Jesus's responsibility. Just know that this is not your job. You cannot force another person to have a moral conviction or even to desire another way of living. That is God's job. Also, do not compare your relationship to other person's relationship. Remember, you chose this person because you love this person. So what's the point in making comparisons at this stage? It's only going to cause you to despair. Choosing the road of acceptance should also mean that you know that your spouse will not meet all of your needs in a very balanced way. And so you will be limited in how you can connect and share with your narcissistic spouse. It's not the end of the world. It's best to establish and nurture friendships and partnerships outside that can meet your emotional needs rather than expect the narcissist to change. And I'm not talking about infidelity, let me just make that clear. I'm talking about platonic, supportive relationship, whether it be within your family structure, your extended relatives, or even friends or friends at church. I would also strongly suggest that you plug into the nurturing hobbies that gives you joy, and practice them as often as your schedule allows. By the way, anything that is important will find a place on your schedule. Now, I know that this can be a very tall order for the spouse of a narcissist, right? Since you would have to learn to bury your needs in service of your spouse. And it can also be what we call counterintuitive to focus on what you love after ignoring those needs for such a long time. But the path to less resentment and more joy lies in finding your own interest again. Just strive to connect with your narcissistic husband or wife over mutual interests and activities that you both can do together that is not so demanding and draining. Just think about times when you connect the most to help you think about when to connect. Okay, I trust this was helpful. Remember, Psalm 23 and verses 5, neither you nor your marriage nor your spouse is meant to just survive in the marriage. You are meant for thriving and you are meant for overflowing. So I thank you so much for watching, and I pray that your marriage will be impacted positively by this video. Now, for more like this, please register at the gym, the Grow Your Marriage Academy, for courses. How to speak so your husband will listen. Wives, that's just for you. Husbands, loving your wife in a Christ-centered way. Then there is the marriage maintenance that both of you can do together, and sexual proficiency. And if you're single, there's a course for you too, the marriage readiness intelligence. If you need some help with parenting, then we have a parenting course that is just for you. And if you're a seasoned married couple, then you might want to help another couple. And so we have a coaching certification course just right for you to be able to help another person. Until next time, I'm Dr. Dunbar, and this is Love Online.